Welcome back to this week's episode of the Seatown Podcast, where we invite on Seattle area business owners, entrepreneurs, and community leaders to share their stories with us. I'm your host, Christian Harris. This week's episode of the Seatown Podcast is brought to you by Seatown Real Estate. Their mission is to make an impact by embedding excellence and giving into everything they do. Visit seatown.com, that's sea-town.com, to see how their unconventional approach and community partnership with local nonprofits are making a difference for their agents, their clients, and their community. Experience the difference with Seatown Real Estate. Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Seatown Podcast. Today I'm sitting down with Danielle Marchioro, the new executive director of the Highline Medical Center Foundation, which raises money for the medical center and its patients in Burien. Thanks for joining us, Danielle.
Thank you for having me.
Cool. Can you tell us a little bit more about the Highline Medical Center Foundation, and what they do, and then what you do specifically there?
Sure, absolutely. So I started with the Highline Medical Center Foundation about 3.5 months ago, and was brought on to lead the fundraising efforts and networking out in the community just to promote our mission, which is to bring quality health care and access to everyone in our community. So that community really is, the hospital is located in Burien, but the surrounding communities of White Center, West Seattle, Des Moines, Normandy Park, and the SeaTac area is where we are serving patients.
Okay. So far, what's been the biggest way you've been kind of getting the awareness out there that you guys exist and you support the community, and how people can use those services? Yeah,
absolutely. Well, I think one of the most important parts of my job is just getting out into the community, so meeting with as many people as possible. I joined the West Seattle Rotary and have met a lot of wonderful people through that, and just networking with our board members and trying to get connected and plugged into different groups in the southwest community of Seattle. So a lot of time away from my desk, which is a good day when I'm out and about talking with people and sharing the story of the foundation and what we do at the hospital. So
gotcha. Okay, trying to get on podcasts like this.
Yeah, trying to get the word out via every medium. So
for sure. Now, looking over your bio, it seems like you've lived in quite a few places.
Yeah.
I've only been in Seattle for a few years now, but you were in San Diego, Germany, Denver, and now you settled here. What kind of took you to all those different places?
Sure. So I'm originally from Spokane, Washington, born and raised there, and moved to San Diego for college. So I went to the University of San Diego and loved my 4 years at the beach down there. And after college, I just kind of wasn't really certain of what I wanted to do yet, and I knew I wanted to be in the nonprofit sector, but wanted to take a little bit of time to do something different and do some traveling. I had studied abroad on Semester at Sea, which is a program where you live on a ship, and we circumnavigated the globe and went to 10 countries, and so I had the travel bug, to say the least, and I had this wonderful professor at the University of San Diego who was a retired naval captain, and he had kind of worked to start this program called Camp Adventure, where they would send college students for summer internships or fall or spring internships to different military bases around the world to kind of help with childcare or lifeguarding, that type of thing. So I did a fall internship with the U.S. Department of Defense, and I taught preschool on a U.S. Army base in Germany, in Illesheim, Germany, very small base. Right outside of Nuremberg, and just lived there for 7 months and made some of my closest friends and traveled every weekend, taught preschool during the week. So it was a wonderful experience. And after that kind of wrapped up, I felt like I needed to get my life going and get a real job. Although I wish I would have stayed longer, because there's no need to come back to the real world that quickly. Sure. And so I actually did move to Seattle after that and was ready to start my life back in Washington, being closer to family, but not all the way home. Yeah. And just could not find a job in the nonprofit sector. And so I thought, well, if I'm going to move anywhere or try anything new, now's the time. And so my best friend from college and I said, let's move to Denver. And we picked up and moved there. And I thought I'd be there a year, and I ended up being there 5. And that's really where my career in nonprofit started and really took off. So I was there for 5 years, and then thought it was time to if I was going to move back closer to home, then it was time after 5 years. So now I'm settled back in Washington, and a drive away from my parents and my sisters and their kids and all of my family. And so that's been really wonderful to be able to drive home instead of be a 3-hour flight. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So after kind of finishing up your time in Denver, what ultimately brought you back to Seattle? I mean, like, there's a lot of cities in Washington, you know?
Yes. So I knew that I wanted to be back in Seattle when I had lived here for just about 9 months before I moved to Denver. I just really felt a connection to the city. I love being by the water. That was something I definitely missed, living in Colorado and being so landlocked. And so when I started looking at moving home, I applied for some jobs here in Seattle and ended up getting a job and taking an opportunity with the American Heart and Stroke Association. So I packed up my life in Denver and put it all in one of those pods. And then I took a 2-week trip to Rome, Italy by myself, and then ended up here. So it's just a wonderful city, and I've really enjoyed kind of creating roots here and just getting involved in the community. So
you see yourself here long term?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Good. What do you love most about Seattle?
Well, I love the water. My fiance and I are boat people. He has a boat, so we are always out in Puget Sound crabbing and fishing and just taking advantage of the nice days that we have, which today is a nice day, so I'm thankful for that. Yep. I just love the natural beauty with the mountains, and I just think Seattle is such an eclectic and changing city, and every year it looks different to me, and it kind of just gives me energy, and I just think it's so vibrant, and everyone that comes to visit me here just falls in love with the city. Even on the rainiest days, it's hard to not love Seattle and feel like it's a great place to work and live and raise a family. So
yeah, very cool. Congratulations on your recent engagement, by the way.
Oh, thank
very
you.
Exciting.
Yes, very exciting. I met my fiance, Burien, about 3 weeks after I moved to Seattle, and he's originally from Vashon, so he has roots here in the community, and so, yeah, we're getting married in September.
Nice, exciting. Yeah. When you have friends that visit Seattle, what are your favorite things to do here?
Sure. So we live just right up from the Fauntleroy Ferry, and so we're right up from Lincoln Park, and I love taking friends to Lincoln Park and walking right along the water there. We like going out on the boat and boating to Bainbridge for dinner or into Lake Washington. So it's fun to kind of be able to give people that experience from the water. Looking back at the city, it's just a totally different viewpoint that I think we're lucky to be able to show people. So that would be one of the main things. I love eating and, going out and trying new restaurants and bars. And so, when I first moved to Seattle about 1.5 years ago, I thought, I'll be in the city every weekend going out to eat or meeting friends or whatever. But there's so much here in West Seattle. you don't even realize it, but you don't leave on some weekends and you're just here, and It's wonderful. So lots to do in West Seattle, and just eating and going out.
Sure. That's great. What so kind of going back to what you do in the nonprofit world at Highline Medical Center Foundation. What do you love most about your role there?
Well, I absolutely have loved just finding my footing at Highline Medical Center, and it's a really unique opportunity that I'm in to be able to go out into the community and fundraise for the foundation. So what we are fundraising for specifically is for patients that come through our doors at the hospital, for improving patient experience, whether that's getting new equipment for the hospital that is, state of the art, or leading technologies, or we have a program that's called the Clothing Closet. We see a lot of homeless people coming through our emergency department, and a lot of times they don't have the clothes necessary for our weather conditions. And so as the foundation, we fundraise and keep a full stocked closet. So if somebody comes in and they don't have shoes or they don't have a winter coat and it's December, we gift that to them and kind of help them with their basic needs. We also fund things like comfort carts, which happens with our hospice or palliative care, so end of life. Comfort carts are something that we love to be able to offer to families. It basically is just a cart that's wheeled into the room that has tissue and snacks and waters, coffee, tea, things so that family members don't have to leave the room if they have a loved one that's on hospice or that is near death. And it's just a really nice way for them to feel like the hospital cares about their experience, regardless of if the outcome is not what you would want to see. And so I think in my role, I've just loved the uniqueness of being able to go out into the community and fundraise and then to turn around and grant the money to the hospital. So doctors or nurses can identify an area of need within the hospital and they fill out a grant request and send it to me and to the foundation, and we are able to review that and see along with our board of directors, who should receive the funding. So, for example, this week we had a low-income cancer patient whose doctor at the cancer center wrote a grant for their rent for the month of May because he has a large family and is not able to work right now because he's undergoing treatment. And so it's just a really wonderful place to be where you're fundraising, and then you can turn around and grant the money to people that need it most that we see within our walls at the hospital. And it's just the closest I've ever been to any mission that I've worked for, if that makes sense. At a lot of other nonprofits I work for, we raise money for research and education, and I fully believe in research and education, but sometimes it seems so far away because research projects take years and years and billions of dollars to bring a new drug to market, that kind of thing. But I think what we're doing in the foundation at the hospital is so tangible, and you can really feel it and you can see it, and we can turn things around very quickly if we have a patient in need or a department that, their nuclear camera goes out or something happens. We can come in and kind of help to expedite and streamline the process of funding for them.
Sure. That's great. You guys are able to be so kind of on the ground.
Yes.
That quick turnaround. You
yes.
See the patients that are getting the help versus kind of this
absolutely
bigger picture. You're not really able to interact with the people you're helping,
yeah,
the big organization. Yeah.
And it's all local. All of the dollars raised stay in the community, stay at the hospital, and so that's a really great thing to be able to share with donors and people who are interested in donating to the foundation and to the hospital. It's every dollar that is given to the foundation stays right in the community where you live and work and where you want to see your funds being used.
Sure. If you guys ever have like a need that you're not able to meet, do you have partnerships with other local nonprofits for that kind of stuff? Or?
Yes, so we have a couple programs at the hospital that are really exciting and interesting, and we can talk about Highline Health Connections, but we work closely with other medical clinics and are trying to form relationships with other nonprofits out in the community who are doing some of the same things that we're doing, or I'm really big on trying to find new partners that we can kind of weave into some of our programs, and so that's been really fun to meet and get to know other nonprofits in the community because all of us are working with the same population and a lot of the same people.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. What did you find most surprising or unexpected when you first started in this role?
Sure. So this was my first experience working in a hospital setting. And, I think for the most part, most people want to stay as far away from a hospital as possible, right? That means you're healthy and that for the most part, things are good. But I think I've just been totally surprised and blown away by the teamwork that goes on at a hospital or medical center. Every single department depends on the next department to do their job and to deliver high quality health care. I mean, down to the facilities department making sure that the rooms are clean within a certain amount of time, and every single department relies on each other to kind of bring together this puzzle and create the best patient experience possible. And we have these huddles every morning where everyone's kind of talking about there's a safety huddle where they're talking about different needs in their department, if they have somebody out or if they have a machine that's down or Wi-Fi's down or something like that. And it's just so cool to see the way that everybody works together to solve those problems. And so that's something I never thought about, not working in a hospital space.
Sure.
And coming into that, it's pretty remarkable to see how everyone works together to make sure that the patients are being cared for in the best possible way.
Sure. So, I mean, considering your background and wanting to get to work in the nonprofit space, what was kind of that big motivator? Was there kind of a aha moment when you realized that's kind of your calling, or?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because I grew up with both of my parents working, and my dad ran a nonprofit for 30 years in Spokane, and they were a job placement, resume building organization. They taught high school dropouts to get their GEDs, and my mom ran the paratransit van public sector of public transportation for Spokane Transit Authority. So they were both in jobs that were challenging but very rewarding, and they worked with populations that really needed help. And I think I was in college when my dad retired, and I flew home for his retirement party, and so many people stood up and talked about how his work had just impacted their lives or their children's lives in finding them jobs, and kind of connecting the dots for people who needed help. And at the time, I was a communication major, and I was considering a minor in nonprofit management. And that was really when I said, okay, I'm going to go all in on this, because when I retire, I want to feel that way, that my life's work meant something and had an impact on people. And so I started down that path, and I got my first job with a nonprofit at the Multiple Sclerosis Society, and it just kind of took off from there, and loved fundraising, loved the relationship aspect of learning why people are passionate about different causes, and where their passions lie within research or education or specific funding, and it just kind of went from there.
Yeah, that's awesome that at such a young age you were able to find that passion and have direction for what you want to do. I know that it's pretty common for youngsters these days to kind of meander.
Yes,
try to figure out what they want to do with their life. And
right. No, it's been such an interesting journey, and I just fully believe that everything happens for a reason, and each job leads you to the next job. And, there are a lot of people along the way who really helped me out, and who really gave me a leg up and believed in me, and trusted me, and gave me positions that maybe I wasn't yet ready for. But it's just been an incredible journey, and I'm obviously so happy where I've ended up now and where I'm at right now. So.
Sure. What were some of the things you're able to kind of bring forward and you'd learned kind of in the first couple jobs in the nonprofit world that you're able to implement, that experience that you're able to bring to your current job?
I think listening. I think that that's the most important thing for fundraisers, to listen to people and understand why they give to a specific nonprofit or to a specific mission, and what kind of fuels them to do that. And I think you learn a lot from just listening to people and understanding where they're coming from, and I think that is the way that you can be successful, because you can really pick up on little things that could make a big difference down the road. For example, if someone says that they're interested in a specific type, learning about a specific type of cancer that one of their loved ones, passed away from, or something like that, just keeping them in the loop when new research comes out or new treatments comes out. And so it's a lot of listening and then remembering those tidbits of information, and really being intentional with the information that you're giving to them, and finding a perfect fit for them, and making them understand the impact of their gift or their donation.
Sure.
So I think that was something I learned pretty early on, and was able to translate into every nonprofit job I've had.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's great. Was there any particular mentor or boss or something along the way that kind of gave you kind of some really good advice that you'd want to share with our listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. He was kind of my angel in Denver. I moved there and was working a couple jobs, trying to find a job within the nonprofit sector. And this man named Press Askew was a friend, my friend's mom's friend. Okay. So very, not a very close connection, but He knew everybody in Denver, and he took the time to meet with me for coffee, and I don't know what he saw in me, but he really believed in me and gave me quite a few opportunities and introduced me to so many people. And I remember I said, I don't know, Press, I'm interested in grant writing, I'm interested in event fundraising, major gifts. I was kind of all over the board, like you're saying. As a young person right out of college, I knew I wanted to be in the nonprofit world, but there's so many directions you can take that. And he just said, you might be good at writing, but your real skill is talking to people and relationship building and networking. And so don't pigeonhole yourself into grant writing. And that was a real incredible thing for him to say, because he was right. And I could have done grant writing and that could have been it. But I think really having somebody believe in me and tell me that and say, no, this should be your path, was really helpful. And he just continues to support me and has just been such an influence on my life. So
that's awesome. You're able to have that network of supporters around you as you move forward with your nonprofit career. Speaking of grant writing, what are some of the main ways that Highline Medical Center Foundation raises money, does fundraising?
So major gifts, which is individual donors. Grant writing is a big one, and we have a really incredible program that we're currently doing a lot of grant writing for that I can touch on in a minute. We do an employee campaign and a physician's campaign, direct mail where we're mailing past donors, and then we have our big fundraising event. That's our gala, and it's coming up on October 20th this year. And this is actually the 60th year anniversary for Highline Medical Center. So we're very excited to celebrate that at the gala this year. And we're going to be bringing back some people who were around when the hospital opened and who were around 40 years ago, 50 years ago, and just taking a look at the medical center opened as Burien General Hospital and how it's evolved over the years and where we're going into the future, entering into an expansion of the medical center. And so we have a lot to celebrate at the gala this year, but that's our big fundraising event. So
it's awesome. If our listeners are interested in helping or getting involved, what's kind of the best way to do that?
Absolutely. Well, I'm always open to meet with people and chat about different ways to get involved. We have a gala committee that helps us with the gala, and we have board openings available. But the best way to kind of gather the information is to visit our website, which is www.chifranciscan.org/Highline Foundation. And so CHI is our parent company, and that is why it's chifranciscan.org and then /Highline Foundation.
So as we're kind of wrapping up the interview, maybe you could share with us one thing that really stands out about something that's unique about what Highline Medical Center Foundation is doing, something you could kind of emphasize for us.
Sure. We have an incredible program at Highline Medical Center that is grant funded and funded through gifts from individual donors in the community, and it's called Highline Health Connections. And it is a program that we are super excited about in the foundation because it's just a really innovative individual approach to healthcare. And so basically this program started because we took a look at overutilizers of the emergency department. We had people who were coming into the ER 40, 50 times a year. And when you look at what that cost is to the healthcare system, to the individual, what that means for other people who are in the emergency department that need a bed, it's really kind of astronomical. And actually Malcolm Gladwell wrote an article for the New York Times called $1 Million Murray, and it's kind of an article and story of a man whose homelessness and alcoholism cost the Nevada taxpayers over $1 million in 10 years. And so when we were looking at the overutilizers for our emergency department, it was evident that there were opportunities there to work with these individuals to get them kind of on the right track to be their own healthcare advocates. So what Highline Health Connections does is it pairs participants who opt into this program, who are considered overutilizers of the emergency department, with a community health worker or a case manager who's who sits down with them and says, okay, why did you have 16 ER visits last year and 3 overnight stays? And how can we work to keep that from happening? And so what was found is a lot of these people and overutilizers are using the emergency department as their primary care. It's hard enough for me to navigate my own health insurance, and I have great coverage. I work for a hospital system, but people have a really hard time navigating the healthcare system. If you don't have insurance, the emergency room can't turn you away. And so we're pairing these participants with community health workers who are addressing all of their needs, who are looking at their whole health and saying, what is the thing that you are visiting the emergency room for? For a lot of people, it's asthma related, it's cardiac events, and diabetes. So what are the barriers to you having your best health? And some of these people are deciding between paying for their medicine and paying for food for their family. And so there's a lot of need there. But the community health workers help navigate the system for them to get their medicine, to get on track, to get them connected to a primary care doctor so that they're not waiting till the last minute and then they have to come to the emergency room or using the emergency room as primary care. And this program has just proven to be so successful. It's been running for 3 years. And I just think of the community health workers as absolute angels. They're going out to these people's homes. We have quite a few homeless participants that they are actively working with to get them housing, to figure out what those roadblocks are to them being in good health, and working with them and other nonprofits, other organizations, to get them the care that they need. And actually, the program has proved to be so successful that we just wrote a grant to encompass a mental and behavioral health aspect. So our community health workers were finding that all of the participants had their primary need and primary concern, which was some sort of physical health ailment. But secondary to that is a lot of mental health issues, addiction, and behavioral health problems that needed addressing. So we're hoping if we get the grant approval that we can bring on a psychiatrist to this program so we can really have a holistic approach to these participants' health and looking at what we can do to make sure that they take control of their health care and are their own advocates and connecting them with the services that they need. So it's very dynamic. It's a very unique approach to healthcare, and we're really excited about it and really excited about growing this program in our community.
That's awesome. So it sounds like the opt-in rate's been very high, been well received, and very effective.
Yes, definitely. We, one of our kind of case study stories was this man who had 16 hospital or ER visits, 3 hospitalizations in 2016, and he got connected up with Health Connections program. And in 2017, he had 0 overnight stays and 0 ER visits. And when you think about what that means for his medical bills, for the hospitals, availability to take on other patients who are coming in the doors who are having an emergency, it's just a win-win all around. And we just have a lot of really great advocates who have gone through the program who are so grateful and thankful for those very patient and understanding and wise community health workers who are really the boots on the ground in the community working to make our community a healthy, safe place.
Sure. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad I was able to have you on as a guest and hopefully get the word out about Highline Medical Center Foundation to the general Seattle population. Is there anything you want to leave us with before we kind of sign off here?
No, I am so appreciative of your time, and I'm excited to meet more community members and work with other nonprofits and organizations in the community to continue to make West Seattle and Southwest Seattle a healthy and safe place to live and work and play. So,
indeed. I will make sure to link, the references, including the $1 million Murray article that you mentioned in the show notes. If someone wants to get a hold of you, find out more about the foundation, how can they do that?
Yes. Okay, you can give me a call at 206-901-8505. I'm happy to speak with anyone who has any further questions, or shoot me an email at dmarchioro, Marchioro @highlinemedical.org. and hopefully you can maybe include that too.
Sure, yeah.
And I'm happy to meet or come out to your company or organization, talk to you a little bit more about the exciting things that are coming up at Highline Medical Center.
Very good. Well, thank you for your time, Danielle. I appreciate it, and hopefully this proves effective in getting the word out there to our community.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. That wraps up this week's episode of the C-Town Podcast. Make sure to check out our guest website, pay them a visit, and help spread the word about what they're doing. If you have any questions, know someone who should be a guest on here, or has a story worth sharing, email me at christianharris@ctown.com. That's sea-town.com. I would also be honored if you could go to iTunes and give us a review and a nice 5-star rating. We work hard to bring on great guests and provide exceptional content, and getting a review from you is one way to help the podcast rank well in iTunes so others can find and enjoy the show as well. You can also find out more about me, how my real estate brokerage and our unconventional approach can help you with your Seattle area real estate needs, or other projects I'm working on by visiting ctown.com, sea-town.com. Today's intro and outro music is brought to you by the Fascination Movement. You can find their albums in the iTunes Store. The C-Town Podcast creator and host is Christian Harris. You can listen to more episodes and find our show notes on our website at ctownpodcast.com. This has been a C-Town Media production.